And Barakta Yahweh, Barakatha, Yahweh Shah, Barakta Yahweh, Barakatha, Yahweh Shah Ba'ashem, Rakak Wadash, double honor to the apostles, the elders, salutations to you, sincere brothers, teaching in truth and in sincerity. This lesson will be entitled 2nd Esdras 15, Civil Unrest. Lord will you are edified. This article is entitled Inflation Could Lead to Civil Unrest, warns expert. British journalist and financial expert Martin Lewis recently warned that the rising cost of living could lead to civil unrest. We need to keep people fed. We need to keep people, or Salakia, we need to keep them warm. If we get this wrong right now, then we get to the point where we start to risk civil unrest. When breadwinners cannot provide, anger brews and civil unrest brews, and I do not think we are very far off. Habakkuk 2 and 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, and we are approaching. We are in the entry phases of this appointed time. But at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. We are in the end phases of Esau's kingdom. So the prophecy is no longer tarrying. Martin's comments about civil unrest have a troubling historical precedent. Bread riots have a long history in Egypt. For example, after economic changes resulted in higher food prices, there were violent protests in 1977, resulting in dozens of deaths. And during the Arab Spring of 2011, a popular slogan in rallies was bread, freedom, and social injustice. Over the past few months, protests have become more frequent around the world due to shortages and rising inflation. Quoting an article published by CNN, unrest in Sri Lanka, Pakistan, and Peru over the past week highlights the risk. In Sri Lanka, protests have erupted over shortages of gas and other basic goods. Double-digit inflation in Pakistan has eroded support for Prime Minister Imran Khan, forcing him from office. At least 6 people have died in recent anti-government protests in Peru, sparked by rising fuel prices. So it's happening. In Europe, the situation is worsening. Thousands of protesters recently rallied in Greek cities to demand greater pay to combat inflation. Meanwhile, the French presidential race is narrowing, with Marine Le Pen promoting policies to lower the cost of living. It's worth noting that global food prices are currently at an all-time high. According to a report republished by the United Nations, conflict has driven up in international prices for wheat, maize, and vegetable oils, as war in the Black Sea region spreads shocks through the markets trading in these staples. Again, Habakkuk 2 and 3, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, and this appointed time has been activated. But at the end it shall speak, and is speaking. How is the prophecy speaking? Via current events, such as civil unrest, which has been inspired by what? Food shortages, or shortages in general, and inflation. But at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. And as we can see, Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai, is a man of his word. Isaiah 55:11. So shall my word be that go forth out of my mouth, the Most High's word in the format of prophecies, to say before the event is exercised on earth. It shall not return unto me void. Hence, he's a man of his word. But it shall accomplish or achieve that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. And that's literal. According to the Wikipedia, civil disorder. Forms of unrest arising from a mass act of civil disobedience in which the participants become hostile toward authority, and authorities incur difficulties in maintaining public safety and order over the disorderly crowd. Keep this in mind. Second Esdras 15:14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein. Unrest in Sri Lanka, Pakistan, and Peru over the past week highlights the risk regarding what? Civil unrest. In Sri Lanka, protests have erupted over shortages of gas and other basic goods. Double-digit inflation in Pakistan has eroded support for Prime Minister Imran Khan, forcing him from office. At least 6 people have died in recent anti-government protests in Peru, sparked by rising fuel prices. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draw near, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. Okay? And this prophecy is being activated now. Verse 16. For there shall be sedition among men. Sedition. When you go into the etymon of sedition, it means to set apart. In the case of what? You can equate this with civil unrest. Okay? Again, civil unrest or civil disorder, forms of unrest arising from a mass act of civil disobedience in which the participants become hostile toward authority. This is sedition. Okay? To set apart. All right? The participants versus the authority. The protesters versus the authority. The people versus the government. Okay? And authorities incur difficulties in maintaining public safety and order over the disorderly crowd. For there shall be sedition, a setting apart among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their hand. Slack. And the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Okay? This is civil unrest, also known as sedition. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, for because of their pride the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity on his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. And when you go into this term tribulation, it means to be oppressed and a strait. strait, which means what? A position of difficulty. So my reply to Matt Lillywhite, inflation could lead to civil unrest, warns expert. No. Inflation is going to lead to civil unrest because this is prophecy. Words of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. Lord, will you are edified. Shalom.